Hi, Elaine here, countryhomeandheart.net is my website, and this is Saturday night. I usually don't do too much at night, but tomorrow for Sunday dinner I am going to make chicken and dressing, and it's going to be a fairly good size roasting chicken. And so I'm going to make a maple, sage, and spice rub to go on this chicken that it's going to marinate in overnight. So let's get started. Alright, and I just have a small bowl, and I'm going to start out adding 3 tablespoons of salt. The original recipe called for 4, but I always thought that that was a little bit too much, so I didn't. I backed that down to 3. Okay, and so the next ingredient is going to be 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. One-half teaspoon of pepper. And 2 tablespoons of ground sage. Okay, let's see, how are we going to do this? use a smaller one and fill up the bigger one. That's how we're going to do it. Okay, there's 1. And there's 2. Okay, and there's our sage. A little bit I spilt here. Let me get that up. There we go. Okay, there's our sage. And we're going to also add 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. This is garlic powder and not garlic salt. Garlic powder. I'm just going to add 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. And now the last ingredient is pure maple syrup. This is a darker maple syrup. And we're just going to pour in 2 tablespoons of the maple syrup to this rub. There we go. And you want to use real maple syrup for this and not the artificial stuff like you would put on, like put on pancakes and that. Okay, and so this is what we have, and I'm going to just take my fingers and kind of stir this around and mix it together. And you see that it is kind of the consistency of wet beach sand. And that's exactly what we want. Okay, and now let me show you how to put this on our chicken. So hang on a minute and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I'm back, and I have placed my chicken down in a 2 actually plastic bags, because these are very thin and I don't want this to leak. So we're going to use 2 bags for this. And what we're going to do is take our rub, and we're just going to rub down this chicken, just like so. And what this is going to do, this is going to make this chicken extremely moist, and it is going to make it very, very flavorful. It's going to be very, very good when we get done. It never does dry out, and it's the same with my Thanksgiving turkey. This is how I do my Thanksgiving turkey. You want to put that up inside of there too. But I do my Thanksgiving turkey the same way. And now this rub makes enough for about a 15-pound 12 to 15-pound turkey. Well, this is a 9-pound chicken. So I'm not going to use all that rub. I'm just going to use just enough to coat it good, which I've got here. Okay, let me wash my hands after handling that chicken. I don't want to touch anything else until I get my hands washed. Okay. And now I'm just going to close up the bag. And let this sit in my refrigerator overnight. And before I go to bed, I will take this out of the refrigerator and I'll turn it over so that the other side can marinate well too. Okay, and we are just going to put that in our refrigerator overnight. And then tomorrow morning, I will take it out and we'll put butter on top of it and under the skin, butter it down real good, wrap it in foil, and it's going to go in the oven for a couple of hours. So, and we're going to make old-fashioned dressing to go with it, and so it should be a good dinner tomorrow. So, okay, so we'll be back with you in the morning when I'm ready to set this up. Bye now. Okay, I'm back and it's now Sunday morning. It's about 9:30, just a little after 9:30 here. And I have my chicken out of the marinade and out of the rub that I let it marinate in overnight. And we're getting ready to get the butter on it and get it in the oven. So let me turn this down so you can see. Okay, so there's our turkey. Not turkey, this is a chicken. And okay, so I'm just going to start rubbing some butter down on the skin on the outside. And then I also kind of take the butter and I go under the skin on the inside too, as well. And what that'll do is that'll make that really moist and give it a very good flavor and keep that from drying out. So we just want to rub this chicken down. And I do the same thing. I keep saying turkey because this is typically what I do with my turkey on Thanksgiving too, is to rub it down really good on the inside and the outside with plenty of butter. And we're just going to get this to go inside the cavity there, and we're going to put some inside the cavity. And you just do this with your hands. It's messy, I know, but we just do it with our hands. Okay. Just a little bit more. I'm going to use up all of this butter. Okay. And there we go. I'm going to rinse my hands. Actually, I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, and I'm going to pour in a little bit of this that had melted. I'm just going to go ahead and pour that over this as well. Hold on just a minute. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. The phone does ring from time to time and interrupts your videos, but while he was on the phone, I went ahead and put my foil over the chicken. You see, I got it ready to put in the oven. It's all buttered down. And we're just going to kind of, I left a couple of little vent openings at either side of this. And we're going to put this in the oven, and I'm going to bake it for, oh, I don't know, probably 3 hours or so. I always like to make sure my chicken is completely done, and also that it's really tender. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven, and I'll be back later on when I'm going to be doing the dressing and the rest of the meal. So we'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and my chicken has been in the oven now for about, it's been in there for about 3 hours. And it's getting pretty close to being done. It's not quite as tender as I want it to be, so I'm going to leave it in there a little bit longer. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and make the dressing. So let me turn this down so you can see. Okay. And I have my large bowl, and I'm going to, this is some cornbread that I've had frozen, and I'm just going to put that in here. Like that. And we're going to crumble up this cornbread just as soon as I get it in here. Okay, and here we go. I'm just going to take my hand and crumple this up. This was some cornbread that I made a while back. It's been in the freezer for a little while, and a lot of times when I have leftover cornbread, this is one of the things that I like to do with it, is to use it to make dressing. And it makes really good dressing. Okay, and to that I'm going to put in some of this Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix. Usually I get the one in the blue bag, but unfortunately the store was out, so I got this one, and I've used it before. It will work just fine, so we'll go ahead and use some of that. Okay, let me take a clothespin. I like clothespins rather than quick chips. They seem to work better. So, okay, and I'm just going to kind of take my hand and mix that together. Okay, and to that I'm going to add, this is one small onion that I have chopped. And we're going to add that onion. Let me rinse my hands off a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to add 1 can of cream of chicken soup, and what this does is it keeps that dressing from drying out. It'll be nice and moist, and it won't get dry. The very first time that I ever made dressing, it came out like a crumbly mess. It was terrible. And so this is something that I have learned since, and it works really well to keep that dressing from being dry. Okay, and then I'm going to add this butter that I'm going to cut up. This is about, this is just about 2/3 of a stick, and I'm just going to cut this up and put it in there. Okay. And now I'm going to add my spices. Okay, and so I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Just about a teaspoon. It doesn't need much because the soup already has salt in it, and so does that dressing mix also has some salt in it. So we don't want to add too much. Okay, and then of course got to have some pepper in it. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit more ground sage to this. So probably about a good tablespoon, I think, I'm going to add in here. I'll give a little extra taste. And then to that, I'm going to add just a pinch of rosemary. These are just the rosemary leaves. And I have some thyme leaves, and I'm going to add just a pinch of thyme as well. Just a pinch, it doesn't take much. Okay. And to this I'm going to add my chicken broth. This is a 32-ounce container, and I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to add yet. We kind of have to play this part by ear. This is one of those recipes that's actually a handed-down recipe, so there's not any precise measurements, so I just kind of do this the way it looks and feels right to me. And this obviously is going to take a lot more, so let's go ahead and add some more. That was just too dry. Alright, and that's getting more like it. And I'm just going to stir this around. until it reaches a consistency that I want. Okay, and that looks pretty good because it's going to firm up as it cooks and as the bread soaks up some of that broth. This is going to firm up. So we want to, I think that looks just about right. So remove this aside. Let me put a cap on that. And I have my 9x13 baking dish that I have coated with cooking spray, but if you didn't want to use cooking spray, if you don't have cooking spray, you can use a little shortening or oil, and that'll just to keep it from sticking. You don't want to use butter because that could cause your edges to scorch. Okay, I'm just going to spread this in my pan. Okay, and there we have it. Now when the chicken gets done, what I will do is take a little of the chicken broth and just put over top of this, and then we'll bake this for probably about 30 to 40 minutes is what this typically takes. So I will be back with you when the chicken gets done and we get ready to put this in the oven and make the other sides. Okay, I'm back and our chicken is done and the dressing that I made is all done, and I have got them started to plate up here. And right here is, I made some mashed potatoes, I've got some green beans and the chicken with the gravy on it. I just thickened the broth and made the gravy. And I wanted to show you a little something on that dressing. Let me move you up a little closer. Okay, so I took a little sample out of that end just to make sure it was okay, and it was. But if you take your spoon, if you're having company and you don't want them to know, you just take your spoon and you smooth it back out like that, and now nobody will know that you've been in it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this finish getting this plated up, and we're going to eat. And I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.